Hello, everyone, and welcome to Market Pulse with NFT18, where we analyze and break down the latest market trends with Zoup, co-founder of Non-Fungibles and the new advanced analytics studio NFT18. Zoup, fresh from the slopes, thank you for joining us today, coming right off the mountain.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to be there.
Super excited to talk to you. It's been an eventful month for sure. I think when we last talked, we talked about kind of some dynamic things happening in the marketplace, some momentum swings, and I know that you guys have alluded to having prepared your 2023 recap and review. So not only do we have an opportunity to talk about what had just happened in December, but also some of the inferences that we can take from the entire year and carry over to what we're going to see for 2024. So psyched to talk to you about that.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, it's been a crazy year. A lot of disappointments, a lot of surprises. And the main question is, where are we and what can we expect for next year? Is it dead or not?
Right. I know we did this last time, but just in case anyone's checking in, watching on Twitter right now for the first time, just 1 minute brief background on yourself and your new studio.
Oh, sorry. I cut for a while. Excuse me.
Sure. In case anyone's just tuning in for the first time, not familiar with you, could you give me the quick 1 minute 101 on who is Zoup and NFT 18?
Sure. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, basically with Zoup. So actually, I'm personally doing market research in NFTs since 2018, where I basically discovered NFTs. So I think I've been the first guy in the world to publish market research, market reporting about NFTs at that time. And since then, actually, I haven't stopped, and I keep loving basically doing some sort of digging into what's going on in the NFT space. We've started working actually with Whale Shark and the whale community in 2020. So it's been a while, already 4 years. Um, and actually, so since the beginning of my journey in the NFT industry, I've co-founded nonfungible.com. And we've started doing all this portfolio evaluation activity, market research, and others. And now I basically founded NFT18, which is my own company, which is only focused on market research and everything related to how to basically establish your strategy in the NFT space, how to sell something that makes sense, that provide value, and which is not like one of these worthless collectibles.
Nice. And I will say that there's lots of places that do analytics and you have different data sources. But what I really dig about what you guys do is you really kind of look for what's unique and what you can get out of the data, right? Some really cool fact-based inferences that can help you, and how you participate in the market, or just get an understanding of what happened and what could possibly be happening. A lot of people wondering what the hell's happening today with a lot of red in the market, with GBTC or whatever's going on there. So let's hop into it. I know that you have a dashboard as well. Feel free to let me know whenever you'd like to bring that up, as opposed to what I would take a look at here. But I did get a sneak peek at the report. Before we dive into that, let's just talk about the past month. So November started to maybe see a little bit more action coming to the marketplace. Then we got what I would say is a significant upswing of momentum, maybe excitement about the possibility of the ETF approval. A lot of things happening. What would be your synopsis on what we saw in December?
So I think that basically the last quarter has been globally quite positive, and December is really at the peak of this upswing. So it really feels like maybe the bear market is over, as I said, and basically we can see that through a lot of metrics like volume of USD traded, volume of sales, the number of active wallets, even the profit and loss. Everything is basically getting better. But the main question is why? And I would say that it's a combination of maybe everyone that got money to lose reselling the NFTs basically lost that during 2023. So maybe it's other. First thing. The second thing is that it looks like we have seen some really interesting projects arriving at the end of the year. So maybe that's another reason why we have this upswing. We have the ETF Bitcoin validated, which definitely gives hope about the whole blockchain and crypto sphere. And there is another hope about the potential Ethereum ETF and the Bitcoin halving in April. So all of that combined, I think that there is some sort of a momentum, and NFTs definitely benefit from that.
Yeah, a lot of stimmies also as well, right? We talked about some of the airdrops that had happened on the Solana ecosystem, and that really rekindled that. That had kind of, I wouldn't want to say died down, but it wasn't to the volume that we saw come back into the marketplace over the past quarter, I would say. And then also the narrative, I think people becoming more aware of gas and how to navigate if they are trying to play with a lot of liquidity, trade things
Mhm.
back and forth, that there's different places to be able to do that. So yeah, a lot of different things happening in December. And then collectively, it tells us a
Yeah,
story over what happened in 2023. So got your report here that's kind of the synopsis on the entire year.
yeah,
Uh, how that's a lot of data to dig into, Zoop. A
yeah. I
lot.
know, right?
So
I
how,
do too.
how how would you want to chop this up? What would you say is the key points and stories you'd like to go through?
Actually, I mean, we can start by the beginning, which is not about us, but if you go to, yeah, a little below this mythology, you can go down, 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 the market overview. So basically, maybe you can start there. So that's the key metrics about what happened in 2023. So the whole NFT market last year was about 9 billion traded. It's a massive decrease. It's a 62% decrease. It's actually a lot. It's been divided by more than two. Same for the volume of sales, which is like, yeah, basically 30% less. But what is interesting is that the community is almost the same than 2022. It's still about 2 million wallets active trading NFTs. Only 10% decrease. To be honest, I was expecting way, way more than that.
Oh
When you see
wow.
that the whole market has been basically divided by two, but people remain there.
Wow, that's interesting because a lot of the narrative, I think, when people were looking at sales volume was that some people became, dissuaded and didn't want to participate anymore. They took their ball and went home. And it looks like no, they're here. They're just being more cautious and judicious in how they spend their money and what they're
Yeah,
trading, right?
I think so. And maybe there's a little bit of, let's say, accepting the loss. Like maybe it took like 3 months, 6 months, or a year to like, okay, I bought this PFP for like 500,000. Okay, at some point I need to sell it back. And that's why you have this volume of loss, just loss, which is about 1 billion lost over the year. As a point of comparison, 2022, which was not the best year ever, was a global profit of about two to 300 million. So basically, it's a super massive loss over the year. But despite that, people stayed in the space. And I think it's a really encouraging signal because people realize that, okay, you may not make money, but there are other stuff to do. And if you go down just a little bit on the same page, um, so you have the volume of collections traded. So we still had about like 46,000 collections traded, which is honestly as quite impressive. The decrease is not crazy. I was expecting, to be frank, that half of the collections would basically die instantly after 2022, and we'd never hear about them again. But no, only 10% actually really actually died without any transaction. And without any surprise, the price decreased a lot.
The
So
price thing is a weird metric to me because for a while Frank and I were looking at some different analytics. We had a fear and greed index and some different things. And really when different segments take the wheel and are really leading the volume, it can dramatically influence price. So for example, when ENS was all
mm,
the rage, right? People would go and just sure, there were some big transactions, but people were just en masse buying ENS names for a couple bucks. right?
Yeah.
And so that really drove down the average price. Or there could be a month where gaming is just dominating and people are trading a lot of these very cheap assets, not
Yeah.
because they're cheap, but because that's the nature of the game, right? Like they're trading something that's $2, that's material to craft something or
Yeah.
whatever. And so like the transaction numbers could be huge, but the average price would go down. Interesting to see this because this is, I would assume, a smoothing of that, right? Because you have different months that were gaming, different that were art
Yes.
and collections based. So the smooth metric does show, nearly a 70% decrease.
Yes, actually, if you only look at the end of the year, because we've seen a lot of activity on Ethereum sidechains for assets with really super low value, I would say that without this month, this last quarter, the average price is probably closer to 1,000. But if you only take the last quarter, it's more something like 200 or 300 because we have seen a lot of activity. And the median price is actually more around like, I'm not kidding, it's about like $2 for the median price.
Right.
There are so many sales of extremely low assets on these side chains. And it's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
Just
no, no.
assets that
Yeah,
don't
we
worth
talked about
much.
this before. That's probably a good thing that people are using the technology for something other than just speculation and trying to, number go up, right? There's actual use cases and reasons. Though there are some concerns about price and value proposition. Like we have creators in our Discord, and many times there's been a discussion about, hey, with so many people trying to sell, $2 NFTs on Tezos or whatever,
Yeah.
is
Mhm.
that a net negative or a positive? And there's great arguments for both, right? But it is
Yeah.
something that has a lot of different sides to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, And actually, yeah, that's just why it's really interesting. As it's not a surprise anymore, but for collectibles, actually, most of the activity is still on collectibles. But the interesting part is that one collectible project over five died. So
Oh,
even
wow.
if, yeah, that's basically the metric you have just below, right there, right below. Yep, right there. 20% minus. So it basically means that, yeah, basically on five PFP projects, only four of them survived
So
and
what
one
so
died.
so how would you categorize that from a data perspective, that a collection died? Just that it has no sales or it's below a certain threshold?
So on that, it's honestly it's an extremely strict definition. If we took a more smooth definition, the percentage will increase. Right now, the definition is if there is not a single sale in 2023, we consider this collection as dead. If there is like one or two sales, even for a super low price, we consider there is still activity.
Oh, wow. So yeah, that's dead dead. That's
Dead,
like,
like really
yeah,
super
that's
dead.
like, yeah, that's like you got to get it thrown in the trash dead. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So
I
yeah, 1 out of 5, totally zero sales, and that's not surprising for
yeah.
PFP projects, right?
Yeah, definitely. I would need to check for this figure, but I think it's something like half PHP project with like one or two sales or like super tiny volume, and it's not a surprise. It's
Now,
definitely it's normal.
this is now collectibles here. Does this include sports collectibles like NBA Top Shot and things like that?
So NBA Top Shot is on flow, so unfortunately it's not part of this. But yeah, any sports collectible, as long as there is nothing like a real game and you can just basically collect them,
Right.
that's a collectible. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So in theory it would be, but it's not in this data
Yes.
because it
Right.
just because of the blockchain. I got it.
Yep.
All right. So now art here. Interesting.
So yeah, actually, art that's interesting because even if art is people keep losing money on art, people lose less money in 2023 than the previous year. So it basically means that I would say you are not profitable yet if you trade art, but it's getting better, which is not the case for collectibles, which is not the case for other segments. But for art, it's definitely getting better. And my explanation for that is the one-on-ones, the super exclusive artworks, are just not traded anymore. The big collectors, including Waveshark and others, they just keep their collection. They don't, need liquidity right away. They are not
Right.
traders.
Right.
And in that case, it means that basically people that bought art for trading, they probably haven't bought the one-on-ones, and they basically have to resell them. But that's a small portion of the whole art segment. So what we see there is basically this, I don't know, 10% of traders that considered art as any other stock exchange item.
Yeah, a couple interesting things here to me. Like when you mentioned that, we have this incredible vault that we have of legacy OG crypto art and even
Mhm,
gaming assets, right? We have like 2,000 plots in Sandbox, 300 in Crypto Voxels. We have the mythics in Gods Unchained. We're not
mhm.
taking those to the market, but if we ever were to consider taking them to market, it would be, hey, is this the right market conditions for it, right? Like, is this when you'd want to sell this to either make a
Yeah,
profit or do something significant because it's an incredible asset? You would never want to, in what was just this bear market of 2023, you would never want to say, hey, now's the perfect time to unload those early X copies, right? Like
yeah,
normally you wouldn't, unless you needed liquidity. So part of these numbers are influenced by that, like these massive organizations or whales or really collectors that, like you said, don't need the liquidity. They're just
mhm,
like, I'm going to sit on the sideline. I'm I don't need to, right now is not my time to bring these things to
absolutely.
market. And
Yeah,
possibly, some of them say I'm not excited to participate and buy either. No, I know there are some
yeah,
people active, right? But I mean, both of those perspectives are valid. So that's a
yeah.
good framing to look at the art market and who would participate there and what they're doing.
Absolutely. And there is another aspect to take into consideration is that for a lot, and I know some of them, like personally, a lot of NFT art collectors used to be traditional art collectors before. So they are used to this kind of pace, which is not like buying an artwork and reselling it back in like 2 weeks or 2 months,
Right.
but more than like 3 or 5 years. It's a normal pace.
Right. Yeah. No, Whale Shark says that all the time to us. He's like, yeah, I'm looking at 3, 5 years down the road. And as you know, in the
Yeah,
NFT space, generally, people are, look at the past month seems like it's been a lifetime, right? I can't, what's going on right now versus what we were talking about last month seems like it was forever ago.
absolutely.
I'm also interested in this profits and loss metric here. So
Yeah.
82 million lost. That's 54 million more than the previous period. Is that what that
Yes.
is?
Yes.
Okay. And this is in pure USD dollars. And the reason I ask that is if we're looking at a calendar year, right? Um, if this was equivalized to just ETH versus the value of the USD dollar of ETH, that would be different, right?
Yes, so actually we've taken the value of the time of the transaction.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not like a total because some of them have been traded in other
Right,
cryptocurrency,
right, yeah.
USDC or Ape or SED or whatever. So to have like a common foundation for each of them, we've taken the conversion into USD.
That makes sense. But me being the crypto native geek I am, I'm like, hey, it's one ETH, it's one ETH. I'm whole. But not everyone looks at that way and they can't.
I mean, you know what? I have some really interesting metrics about that. Maybe we can jump to that. It's on page 31. It's about the highest sales. I think you will love this one. On page 31,
31?
31. Yep. Highest sales. Yep. If you go down. Oh, sorry, 32. Yep.
22,
Uh,
you said?
32. 32. The next one.
Okay.
Yeah, this one. Okay, perfect. So you are the highest sales of 2023. Okay, so some of them, but basically you get some assets being sold for 1.6 million, 1.6, 1.3. And if you go to the next page, you will see some items. This one. Okay, let's go up. Oh, this one is good as well. Okay, here you are. For example, this bodybuild club has been sold back for 1.2 million, 600 ETH. That's a massive amount of money. So he basically lost about $200,000, but he won a lot of ETH. And same for that punk below at 1.064. where basically he made a lot of USD, but he lost a lot of ETH. So
Yeah, I would be fired up. I would not want to be in that transaction, right? I would not. I mean, it depends what you need at the time, I suppose, right? It's
exactly,
pretty dynamic. If you need to take the liquidity to buy a property or pay taxes or whatever, you'll take the gain in USD. But if you're here for the long game, if you're one of those people playing this, I'm staying in the crypto space and I intend to put money back in and be here and
yeah,
continue to do this. This is what you want, right? This is what you want. So this is
I
actually a
think so.
great sale. This is actually a tremendous sale, I would
That's a
say.
really good sale. I think there is another one right above, which is as well a good one. Yeah, plus just look at that, almost
Right.
a million lost.
Took a mill loss right now, but stacked up 200 ETH
Yes,
in
right.
addition to what he has. So if he can hold that and we enter the next bull cycle, and not financial advice, but if Ethereum goes to whatever
Yeah,
people are projecting it to be significantly higher than last cycle, then that's a
absolutely.
massive, massive W that people would judge right now, perhaps based on the dollar value.
Yeah, but in my opinion, it's really a notion of how mature are you regarding cryptos. Are you more or less what we call a maxi? Do you consider that ETH or Bitcoin is a currency like any other currency, and whatever its value, the important is to have more ETH? If it's the case, that's a win. If you go back to traditional currencies, that's a loss. It's really up
Yeah.
to you.
And you know what? Thinking about this now, having been I've done things in this space over time. I remember in 2017 working for a project, and I took some compensation in cryptocurrency. I think timing is important, right? Where you are in the cycle, right? So right now we're approaching a halving. You may consider things differently than if you were on the back end coming down. The way that you'd want to go ahead and approach that. But yeah, super
Yeah.
super interesting.
So yeah, I knew that this was the kind of metric you'd love.
Yeah, I'm geeking out over here, as you can tell. The metaverse. Talk to me about the metaverse, because I thought that I saw, just anecdotally from projects launching, some activity, that there was a bit of a resurgence at the end versus what was very dry for most of
Mm,
2023. A lot of 2023 looked gross. Of course, we're looking right here at the total year,
yeah.
but personally, I thought that with some of the gaming narrative kind of leading the way to some of the resurgence, because metaverse is integrated in that a lot, whether it's other side or whether it's different, buying spaces and things in different games, that it was
Mm.
catching some of the tailwind there and moving along. What did you see in the metaverse?
Honestly, I'm not that positive regarding metaverses last year. Uh, Actually, they suffered from this double bubble effect, the global NFT bubble, let's say, and the micro bubble, which is about like Facebook becoming Meta, announcing crazy stuff and not
Right.
delivering and disappointing. So they basically suffered from this double bubble. At the end of the day, they are still recovering from that, and the end of the year is like just decent. And just look at that. It's just like plus 10 million compared to last year, where basically people lost 70, 75 million. It's only 63 million loss. But still, there is not that much liquidity. The price has been divided by two. So it's technically impossible to resell a parcel you bought during the bull market to sell it back now. You lose money. And even during the past last month, it's a bit better. Like everything is a bit better, but nothing like a new era for virtual worlds. I think it's still too soon. I'm
Yeah.
still a global believer in virtual worlds, but I think it's still too soon for them.
Well, you're not alone. I go out on a limb here. I think my colleague Wes disagrees with me, but I tell him that I think the metaverse will have a resurgence coming up this next year because of the tailwinds it'll catch from gaming. One of the things that
Potentially.
intrigued me about this data is it was the segment that had the most growth as far as collections coming to
Yeah,
participate, right?
yeah,
Plus 53%. So despite the numbers going down. And despite what people are talking about here about the value and things, changing, what we see is more companies coming in and trying to, put opportunities for people to go to the metaverse. In
Yeah.
fact, some people argue that's part of the value proposition problem is that so many of these new entrants are instanced, they remove the scarcity factor, right? It's just it's instance. There's infinite number of
Yeah.
there's a lot of supply, and things are different. But who knows? What we have seen is a lot of successful projects that are token associated, which I found
Mhm.
interesting, right? Like there's this I forgot what NFT Worlds but they had a good run, and some of the other ones. So we'll see. Intriguing numbers from the metaverse.
Yeah, and the other thing that explains that we've seen more collections in 2023 is that we've seen a lot of projects launching around metaverse. So it's not necessarily about selling parcels and land, but most of them are like selling wearables or characters or game experiences. So it's still about virtual worlds, but it's not about selling expensive things. And a lot of them take the, let's say, the easy way, which and the normal way, which is not about building a whole world from scratch, but piggyback on something that already exists,
Right. Yeah.
which makes sense too.
There's even ordinals getting into the metaverse now. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff going on. I look forward to talking about that more over the course of the next year with you. Let's talk about gaming. I see a bunch of people tuning in from Whale Sharks,
Yeah.
um, Guild, I'll call it,
Yeah.
DAO or whatever. I'm not going to tell you the name. You'll have to figure that one out for yourself. We'll call it the vulgar DAO for now. But people tuning in that are very interested in gaming. What did 2023 tell us for the gaming sector?
So there's a couple of things. First thing, don't trust the figures you'll see there. Now, the thing is that for gaming, the most important metric is not about how much trading you got or whether the value of the asset. The most important metric is not necessarily on chain. It's about how many people actually play the game. And playing the game may not have an actual impact on chain. So what you see there is partially part of the traders and speculation that we've seen around gaming. And of course, a lot of games are as well on Flow, on Immutable X, and others that unfortunately we don't support yet. Yet. So this is just the reflect of what happens on chain for gaming on Ethereum. So we got all the EVM sidechains, Base, Bitcoin ordinals as well. So that's just one part of the whole industry. And what we've seen there is not really good. The global volume really has been divided by almost by two, more by two, sorry, divided by more than two. People keep losing money and more money. But we have more and more games. And this is not really surprising because honestly, 2023 has been a year around entertainment, about having fun with NFTs and not only about owning them. People realize that owning is a thing, but at some point you have to deliver something where you can really enjoy your assets. And that's why most of the PFPs actually turn into games, and a lot of new, even small, basic arcade games has been launched. So I would say that's some sort of learnings from past year. Well, okay, I have to deliver something where people can really do something with NFTs.
Yeah, you bring up a couple of interesting points. This is going to reflect from a dollar value perspective, Ethereum. And a lot of people that are active in blockchain gaming have just, the prevailing narrative has been we want to go play or we want our companies to transfer over to these other blockchains so that the interactions with the gaming ecosystem isn't costing us gas. Um,
Yeah,
and also, when some of the legacy play to earn games that were really high value, talking like Axes, for example,
yeah,
when their economics and what was going on with their token faltered a little bit, so did some of the people that were involved. And a lot of the newer games are on AVAX, they're on Solana, they're on
yes.
all these alt chains. So
Mhm.
interesting stuff there. But what was striking me when I first looked at this, being a numbers guy, is this extreme juxtaposition here. It's the second biggest growth of all segments, right? For new
Yes.
collections that have come in,
Yeah.
second biggest growth. So a lot of new companies coming in with games, blockchain games, and ways for people to participate. But
Yeah.
it's also the biggest categoric profit and loss, right? It's the biggest loss.
Yeah.
Um, but
I
like you
mean, yeah.
said, Ethereum's really influencing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, for every company that tries to really capture all the data from the whole NFT space, gaming is always the toughest segment because game keep moving from a chain to another one. I mean, Axie moved from if I'm not mistaken, they moved from Ethereum to Polygon and then to Ronin. Sorare moved a lot as well, and so many games moved like that. Gods Unchained as well started on Ethereum and then moved. So they basically are looking for the perfect platform where people could play and trade without paying gas fees every day. That's normal. But for us, it's a mess to capture that
Yeah.
data.
Yeah, and you have a lot of influence there. You know, a game could be successful. Their assets could depreciate a bit, but their tokenomics, if people are earning, is significant.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of dynamic there, and I think from what we see here, at least on our end, and the stuff we're involved with day to day,
Mhm.
that gaming is kind of leading and leaning in a little bit to some of this momentum for 2024. And I'll be excited to see, you know, what this looks like in a couple more reports as we head into the first quarter.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll be adding Solana real soon. So yeah, we'll probably have a fresh look at that too.
Very cool. So this is utility.
Yeah.
Utility would include a lot of different things. I can't imagine. I don't know who you have in your team that you say, hey, put these in the right categories and buckets, but utility is not an easy one.
That's partially me, but actually, so we have a couple of subcategories. So the first one is ticketing. We are everything related to membership, being actually part of a community or something like that. If it's the main value proposition, it's a utility. Everything related to domain names and digital identity. And the last one is about related to certificate, authenticity, and ownership of potentially physical goods. Sorry, and everything related to social media, decentralized social media as well. Fast utility.
Yeah, we talk about that a little bit here. Significant increase in, you know,
Oh yeah,
collections traded. And
yeah.
I feel like that sometimes you mentioned it before, things could end up crossing. Or like they could have initially started as just a collectible PFP and then they become a gaming asset, right?
Yes,
Because all of a sudden Pudgy Penguins are in Pudgy Land or whatever's happening. So
exactly.
these things shift and move. I
Yeah.
always found this category hard to get a read on because of that, because so many things go in and out.
Yeah, you know, since it's been like, as I say, 5 years that I've been doing these kind of reports, and since almost day one, we have been like, okay, we'll be splitting utilities in subcategories to give you a better understanding. But the thing is that there are so many different subcategories that it's endless. If you just take, like, as I say, membership and certificate and all this stuff, you have like super micro niche categories that doesn't reflect anything. So it's something that we plan to include in the future because we have categories and subcategories in the database. So we may get you this kind of data down the road. But yeah, it's super tough. And the thing is that most, or at least a lot of these assets from utilities are not meant to be traded. You don't need to trade a domain name every day. You don't need to trade your ID card every day, or not at all. So that's why it's a bit tricky to measure the market share of utilities.
Right. Um, I don't even know a follow-up question for utility. Utility's all over the place, Soup. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
leave that one. I'll let you lead that one. Uh, then you get
Uh,
into some other, you know, inferences of like interesting stuff that you know, when
you
putting
make
it
it
all together.
you make it
Go
the
ahead.
page 17,
Sure.
or 18. I have a doubt. The next one. Yep, next one. Okay. So that's basically, so it's not on-chain data, of course. This is from Google Trends, but that's still quite interesting. So over 2023, what we identified, and sorry, some of them are still in French. It's not Korea, but Korea. Sorry, but it will be fixed. So what we've identified is that most Western countries disappeared from the top 20. So doesn't really mean that Western countries are not into NFTs anymore, but they have been replaced by Middle East, Asian, and Southeast Asia country mostly. So that's basically where NFTs are hot right now: China, Laos, Nigeria, South Korea, Singapore, Hong Kong, Philippines.
So my understanding of China is there's some hoops to jump through to be able to participate just with cryptocurrency, let alone NFT marketplaces. Is there a robust market in China, or is this just interest and they're not as active participants as some of the other countries?
So honestly, it's quite hard to know because first thing, we don't have much information about what's actually going on in China. Um, and there are so many back and forth between we hate crypto, oh, we love crypto, no, we hate crypto. Sometimes it's a bit tough to know exactly where they are, but and between what is officially the message and what is actually happening in the country, there may be a difference too. So I would say that they can't really ignore NFTs, and they probably consider that as some sort of part of the soft power they may have. Um, but yeah, we don't have like any concrete information about what's going on there.
It's interesting because we talked about in China some of the restrictions. Similarly, I know Nigeria has gone back and forth several times on trying to deny people access, and a lot of, in fact, a lot of artists that I've interviewed have been from there, and they try to leverage cryptocurrency to offset some challenges they have with their economy. Maybe there's a correlation there between I mean, it's like the old adage, right? You don't let you have a teenager that doesn't experience much. They go off to college, right? They're going to be interested in everything, right? They're going to go ham trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
These are
totally.
Google trends, right? These are what people are
Yeah,
searching for. These are people that are interested. And I
yeah.
do believe we saw something not long ago in the Middle East, where there was some clarification from religious leadership that participating in cryptocurrency and some different things was okay, and there was a narrative that perhaps that opens up some more market participation because of that as well.
Potentially, yeah. I know that, and there is something as well. A lot of people from Western countries that became crypto millionaire, or at least that really work actively in the NFT sphere, are now moving to Dubai, to Qatar, and others. So that's maybe why we've seen more interest in the Middle East, because these people move to Middle East, and on the other end, they probably convince people in the Middle East that that's a business that could be profitable for them too.
Yeah.
So
I have some family in the Middle East, and they've been ready. They've been ready to participate the way that they can. But in fact, in our community, we have people that are, they live in Dubai, and they're, and they're participating in blockchain gaming and crypto and a
yeah,
lot of other things. So very interesting. One other question, and I don't know if you could answer this,
yeah.
but it's just the way my thought process is. This is what we see for the top interested countries. I believe the next one is people that have become disinterested. Um, but because this is Google Trends, could this also have a correlation with people becoming more accustomed and interested in, or just understanding it? Meaning, if it was very new, like say in 2020, in the US, probably the numbers were really high. Um, because people that would have participated are now more learned about it and understand it, could that
Mhm.
explain some of the fall off for Western countries?
That's a good question. Let's be honest, we may not have like actual metrics about that. It's more about a feeling. My feeling is that for Western countries, and so yeah, you got the top and flop basically there. My feeling is that for Western countries, it's maybe more about following the latest shiny thing. And in 2021, it was NFTs. And of course, you had Ukraine and other topics to look for after that. And I would say that in 2023, it was mostly about artificial intelligence. So basically, everyone is just switching their focus from NFTs to, oh, Ukraine, oh my gosh, no, artificial intelligence, oh my God, there's something else. So maybe they will go back to NFTs like in just, I don't know, 3 weeks,
Right.
whenever the time will come.
Right, but they'll call them real world application of tokenization, right? RWAs, and they'll put a new label on it, and it'll be exciting again. Who knows?
Exactly. And that's why we probably have to rebrand all this stuff from metaverse, NFTs, all this stuff should probably find a new name. And that's basically the case. If you look at Web3, we haven't used that word Web3 that much before in 2021. Now it's big, it's Web3, it's new, it's not about NFTs, it's Web3. And I know there's a difference, but still, it's just about let's, forget about NFTs a bit and name that differently.
Yeah, there's interesting arguments about that both ways, right? Some people say that the provenance and being on a smart contract and all that is an important aspect for people to understand. So using the word NFT versus a digital collectible, that
Yeah.
I can get a digital collectible in World of Warcraft, I guess. It doesn't mean I own it or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, right.
It's
Absolutely.
dynamic that way, but also, um, I participated in the ETH subscriptions economy
Hmm.
recently. I don't know if you're
Yeah.
familiar with it, but they're doing some interesting stuff. They're kind of taking some of the learnings from what they've been doing on ordinals. Um, and this is just in the data of the transaction. This isn't a smart contract, right? This is very different, but it's being collected very similarly. So I think you're right. There's gonna be a need for new terminology, and how they're gonna balance that with making sure people understand what the different things mean and what the capabilities are, because they still don't, right? They still don't. Side note, I was a big enough geek to have heard about Web3 before the NFT space, just because I was doing web design. And it was kind of abstract to me, but they were like, oh yeah, all this connectivity or whatever. But now it all makes sense. Web 4, where are you at? Web 5. We'll see what's going to
Yeah,
happen.
whatever. Let's call that like for the new wave.
So I had a question for you. You saw this
Yeah,
run up of 2023. You've been involved a long time. We talked last time about those pictures I found of you giving a talk to like a room of 5 people, like 7 years ago or whatever,
yeah.
about the possibilities of tokenization and NFTs. Looking at this past year, does this mirror what we saw the year before the last halving? Does this like market activity, excitement, participation, the lull, and then the increase is this in any way mirroring what you felt or saw back then, or is it different distinctly?
I, I would say it's different. So I think you have to look at the crypto sphere and the NFT sphere really differently. Really separately, excuse me. Um, For NFTs, nothing to see. It's a complete, honestly, NFTs are having their own cycle, their own life, which is completely different from cryptos. Cryptos may go back and have a bull run in the next few months. I don't think we'll see the exact same bull run in NFTs. So yeah, I think for crypto, there is definitely this kind of same kind of cycle before the halving. NFTs are still, let's say, suffering or recovering from the previous cycle that has been extremely detrimental for them for a lot of reasons. So I think that they still need to recover at least 6 months. They still need to rebrand. A lot of people still need to learn. Um, to be frank with you, I try not to go too much on Twitter these days because I find that extremely depressing of what people say about NFTs, even people that really are bullish about NFTs, but the way I've seen something about a French NFT community recently, and they're like, "Oh, we want to hype collectibles, and we want to trade PFPs, and we want to make money." And oh my gosh, come on,
Right. Yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
you haven't learned. You haven't learned.
And we've been saying it for a long time, but just in the past week, Patrick Amadon, Sasha Styles, people are putting up posts like you guys have lost the plot, right? So I think there's definitely an acknowledgement of that.
Yeah.
But uh, you need all types to make the blockchain go round, including the
Yeah.
speculators. So I'm sure that they're going to come back as well. But how impactful it'll be to the market, I don't know. What I do know is we just saw 20 plus CryptoPunks swept and
Yeah.
incredibly huge bids put out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I've never like full disclosure, I've never put a bid on a CryptoPunk, in case anyone was wondering. But you can't you have to put an individual bid on each one, but you have to have the Ethereum to do that. So
Yeah.
for whoever's doing that is massive, massive, and trying to make some bold moves.
Yeah, to be frank with you right now, I'm a bit uncertain about this last move. Is it like someone trying to make the market move? Is it just a whale waking up? Is it a VC that just want to build his portfolio? I don't really know how to interpret that.
Yeah,
We'll we'll see. Or maybe someone that knows something, but we don't know.
maybe. I see that we're coming up on the hours, but I did have some questions DM'd to me from the
Yeah.
community that they wanted me to ask you while I had
Uh-huh.
you. One of the ones I thought was interesting is what are your findings from 2023 tell you about what is ahead of us for 2024?
Um, so I think that 2024 will basically look like the last quarter of 2023. So it means that we'll still have some sort of an upswing. So it will basically be a better year, obviously a better year. I think that we'll see more and more interesting use case, more and more interesting projects around utility, around gaming, this kind of stuff. Potentially some projects piggybacking on metaverse as well. But on the other end, I think that we'll see more and more collectible projects dying. To be honest, I would be surprised if something like, let's say, Azuki or Invisible Friends or one of them be like, okay, guys, sorry, we're done, we are done. That's the kind of things I'm expecting for this year. No financial advice. Once again, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but that's what I forecast. Sorry. I see you
Uh,
crying.
yeah, some people have actually said that they are watching for more consolidation, right? Projects that say, like you said,
Yeah.
I'm giving up, but instead of it just dying because it had such a big community and possibly a valuable IP to someone, some more kind of takeovers, right, where they get brought into the fold of other projects. So we'll see if that plays out, but
Yeah.
a lot of people enjoyed themselves the last quarter and were excited about a lot of things in the space. And so
Mhm.
if it's more of that, I think some people would sign up for it. As long as we're clearly delineating everything that happened after the halving. Obviously, I mean after the ETF announcement clearly was not in last quarter.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. But there is, sorry, one last thing I wanted to say about what to expect next year is that most of these guys that made a crazy amount of money selling a PFP in 1 week, and they made like, I don't know, like 100 million like that. Most of these guys they're now super wealthy and the company has a lot of money, but they may not know how to manage that, and they may not know how to deliver a proper game or proper experience. So that's what we'll see as well. For now, we've seen a lot of announcement last year of PFPs being like, we'll become a game, we'll do something. Now we'll see if they know how to deliver. And I'm quite sure that some of them, and probably half of them, will not know how to deliver anything. And they will not know how to manage a team, a budget, or anything like that. So that will be like the actual situation like, okay, are you able to deliver or not?
Right. It's hard enough to make a AAA game with a dedicated studio, let alone coming from, bootstrapping it and all these other things. But I'm sure we will see some success.
Of course.
You know, Pudgy Penguins continues to be something that surprises people with what they're able to do with some of their crossover, and they're building a game as well, right? So they
Right,
could be the
right.
model, and we're seeing more interesting, if not weird, things where people are trying to evolve beyond the PFP. We were just talking in the Discord about something that dropped on Solana called Bong Bears. It was, like a cannabis inspired Care Bear kind of thing. Uh, Very mimetic, right? It was very meme based. They started having like rebasing different NFTs to their community that represented different things. They grew out an entire ecosystem. Now they've launched a chain that has an airdrop campaign and evolved into something that's entirely different, right? So I think a lot of people are paying attention to the different paths to take and how to do it, and it's
Mhm.
just not that all of them are great, and not that there aren't going to be rife with issues, but I'm glad I'm not just watching another PFP be spun up. Like, what's the next animal? What's the next thing we can get built on
Yeah.
Fiverr and put out there, right? There's more interesting things happening, and net, I think that'll be a positive. Um, Another question someone asked in kind of similar vein: what are some things you found in 2023 that really surprised you, that you were like, I did not expect that?
Um, Honestly, the amount of active wallets surprised me a lot. I was definitely expecting the community to move, to just give up. But no, most of them actually have been super resilient. So I would say, yeah, I was not expecting the community to be that resilient. And on the other end, I was expecting more collectibles to die. Sorry. But yeah, I was definitely expecting more of them to really disappear. Um, Same for this switch between, Border Club and CryptoPunks. They used to be like really side by side for a long time, but that's interesting to see that collectors decided that no, CryptoPunks are the true blue chips, and Borders are cool, but like not enough. And so that's why we see this kind of difference in terms of pricing between both. So that's something I was not expecting as well, and which is a reflect of maybe a different generation of people still active in the space. Maybe all the traders, newcomers, all the young wealthy guys that arrived, bought an ape, like, okay, it's all there. But all the OGs, the true OGs that basically can afford something expensive, are like, no, I will go for CryptoPunk. And to be honest, I would be like one of them if I could.
Yeah, I need to punk myself. Goals for 2024, right? Uh, Obviously you have historical significance with the crypto punks, so I think they're kind of in a class of their own. But a lot of people were following Yuga specifically because of incremental value they got from a token drop, from a
Mhm.
companion drop, for things like that. And the narrative that we hear frequently from our community is they've spread themselves so thin that they don't do any of those things effectively. But being that it's known as that kind of vehicle, all it takes is some new narrative to spin people back that are, not as loyal as us CryptoPunk loyalists over here, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you mind if I share my screen just for one sec? Just to show something awesome. Here we are. So actually, it's something that I wanted. So I know we are running late, but I will be fast. So actually, we've built this report that you share based on a lot of dashboards that we have internally that we've built on Power BI, which is actually a really, really interesting tool. And one of the metrics that you'll see in the report as well is this distribution between basically wash edit, legit volume, and the suspicious volume. So what is interesting there is that basically that's for 2022 and 2023. Okay, that's both combined. Wash trading has been almost half of the whole volume for the past 2 years. It's crazy. It's absolutely super massive. So it's been honestly impossible to read to read the market for the past 2 years due to that. But if you look only at 2023, it's a bit tricky. Look at that. So these are the actual real sales. So 55%. Wash trading has decreased massively, which is a good thing. But this is really annoying. What is a suspicious sale? So a suspicious sale is basically a sale that occurs between two wallets that have been obviously wash trading other assets. So for these trades, there is nothing like a obvious pattern, nothing that we can identify as wash trading. So it may be a totally legit sale between two wash traders. So there
Hmm.
is a debt, a massive debt. Like, are you serious, guys? Are you really trading for real this time?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I may be the exception, but I will say that when Blur had their airdrop, their initial airdrop, they looked at activity in the marketplaces or whatever. And I wasn't trying to farm or do anything to proactively get it, but I said, cool, I'll go grab some. And I had a significant purchase I did on Looks Rare, on the Looks Rare platform,
Mhm.
because Coldy, and you're familiar with Coldy, legacy
Yeah.
legend, OG artist, very important to the space and what we've built here. But he had an exclusive drop there, so I made it was like for me a significant purchase at the time. I was like, great, like I'll be in line to do this or whatever. They're like, yeah, you don't qualify. That was a suspicious transaction. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, oh, this wallet never had the funding before, and you never used Looks Rare. And I'm like, man,
Oh,
I'm getting,
really?
yeah, I got caught up. So uh, I was very bearish on Blur for some time, but it's not their fault. For whatever reason, whatever they were using to capture that and identify it, they said that I was sus, which I will not agree with.
The thing is that in that case, it's really tricky because we know and we spend a lot of time on that. We have a couple of patterns that we've identified of wash trading, like the basic AB. There's like the ABC circling again. And there's some really complex with a lot of assets circulating between five wallets at different time and others. So that's potentially this. But if it's the case, let's say that this suspicious sales are really wash-trading. In that case, basically 45% of the whole market is basically fake. It is
Well,
the
I,
case.
I don't I don't envy what you guys do over there, because when I take a look at what's going on in the market, and I look at this periodically to understand, hey, what collections are getting some activity, which
Yeah.
blockchain has a decent amount of activity. I look up here often to see, hey, what are the top sales that are happening, right? And it used to be pretty straightforward: crypto punks, fidenzas, bored apes, some,
Mhm.
maybe some like amazing art pieces. Now every time it's littered with these liquidity locking and
Yeah.
staking NFTs that represent things going into ecosystem. Like, it's got so much noise in this, in addition to what we used to be looking at, that it's really hard to look at the data and be able to weed that out. So kudos to you and your team for your methodologies you put together to do that. Not easy.
Thanks. Now, so honestly, it may sound silly, but just capturing the highest sales have been, honestly, it took me way more time than expected, just because something like the top, let's say, 50 sales were fake, like obviously fake. And so we basically had to remove so many NFTs, so many asset IDs that have been washed it so many times for like 1.5, 2 million. And like, no, no, we're not going to include that. And if we are not paying attention to that, we will basically advertise for fake transaction.
Right. Yeah, it's challenging from our end, let alone with all the stuff that you're into. So, thank you for trying to make it make sense for us, making it such a cool, concise report that people can check out. I know you guys are wrapping it up. You still had some French translations to do there. Any
Yeah,
timeline on when people can expect to check this out?
honestly, by the end of the week, we are finalizing that. There's one final check, and basically this report will be live by Friday.
Awesome. And like I tell everyone, I encourage them to definitely check it out. This is not your typical analytics recap. This is a lot of inferences on what the data means
Yeah,
outside of what we traditionally look at. So I really love that about the stuff that you do, Zoop.
thanks.
For anyone that's checking for the first time or that aren't already tapped in, how can they stay connected with you and all things you're doing with NFT 18?
So actually, you can reach out to us on Twitter, which is NFT18 underscore reporting, or you can directly go to our website where you can basically, yeah, we haven't been super active lately, or you can definitely go there and contact us. So you will find all our reports. Most of them are free, there are a couple of paid, but you can find a lot of resources for free. We publish one report every month. So October, November, we have a yearly coming like in a couple of days. And then we'll keep publish one report every month. So you will get like minimum 10 to 15 pages for free every month to know what's going on in the market. And if you have any other requests, or if you have questions or doubts about the methodology, about the data set, feel free to reach out to us via the contact us or reach out to me directly on Discord.
Yeah, and no lie there. I Zoop knows I hit him up all the time. Like, what's up with this number, Zoop? And he helps it break down for me. So thank you so much, Zoop. Always love our opportunity to get together and chat about the market. Really looking forward to seeing what comes up next week and as we head in towards this halving.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nightmare. Thank you, everyone.
Take care.